Hello, crew, and welcome to another Nerd in the Word moment brought to you by the Wilsons. Yeah,
Coach.
the Wilsons. Coach. Here, just a second. We're gonna make sure that the camera is gonna be good. Gonna be working with us. Oh, now I did. Sort of.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, sure, we'll do that. So, Coach is back at it here with us. She was such a glutton for punishment, she decided to go for this again.
Okay, that's not fair.
So, that's
I
fair.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's true.
So it worked.
So, it's good.
And bonus, I get to use the car. So
That's also true. She gets to have the car, which is nice. And also, it was really cool to see the response from you guys on YouTube. You guys really appreciated Coach enough that, like, we had a ton of people hop on. Is this blurry or
yeah,
what?
I think it is a little bit.
Hold on.
Do you want me to do it
One,
closer?
2, 3. There we go.
That looks
oh,
better.
there we go. We figured it out. Yeah, so this is just really kind of unique that we get to have this every once in a while where Coach pops in. Something that I've been thinking in the process of Nerds in the Word, of having potentially all staff that pop in like once in a while come in, so then you're not just hearing the wonderful insight of Wilson or Coach, but like then we've got some German interns to be able to come in and like they're working on listening in the podcast as well, which is really cool. Getting to hear from my boss maybe one of these times, and just he's probably hearing this and going, "Oh shoot, what is the idea that's
if I
going
can
on?"
do it, he can do it.
It's true. It's true. Challenge is on there. But it would be kind of cool for you to be able to see some of the people that I get to interact with.
It would be good to get some of the Quiet Council guys.
Yes.
Which would be kind of ironic. But
Which we've had some of them. So, like, you guys already see Nuggets every Wednesday. You get to see Tom every Tuesday. But it would be cool to have the Hoff in person one of these times. And even Adam, who's a fantastic dude as well.
I would like to do one with Pastor Lowe as
Pastor Lowe would be really good, too.
We could talk about girls and nerds.
Whoa.
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot
So
of fun.
should we have like a talk segment, just like chatting and nerd talk, kind of stuff like that? And
It might not appeal to everybody, but
it might not, but we'll see.
you never know who else.
Throw it down in the chat if you think that's a cool idea. Give us a thumbs up. We also have some fun reactions that you'll be having to make us do and stuff like that. So, things.
And maybe eventually we could have guests from Discord or whatever come on
That would be really cool.
and do kind of like a
Hot
live.
seat moment.
Yeah, live if they're not local. Do a FaceTime or something with them. But
That'd be kind of cool.
yeah.
But yeah. So, anywho, we're going to dive into this together. Yesterday we did Psalm 26, which was really kind of like working on, I equated it to the song Vindicated by Dashboard Confessionals. You guys had to bear with my Spider-Man memories yesterday. Jeepers. But the very idea of like David was asking to be vindicated. He's asking for his name to be cleared, and he's honestly doing some self-assessment and just going, God, am I actually right? Am I in good standing with you? And what I appreciated is it went from an outside in perspective and then from in to out at the end. Like just kind of like how it affects everything and what we do, and how we need to be asking for that sometimes. We need to be able to just go, God, work in my heart. Like, is there something that I need to be doing? Is my motives pure? Am I actually pursuing you, or is it just a thought of you? Like, where do I really want to be? And really, David's main thing that came out of that was he just wanted to be in God's presence and be in his holy place. Like, he wanted to be in the spot that he knew typically is impossible to go into, the Holy of Holies. He wanted to be there, and so it's kind of cool. But today we're focusing on Psalm 27, titled "Whom Shall I Fear?" If you are a fan of like the early 2000s, you probably have the song like "Whom shall I fear? Nobody. Whom shall I fear? No one."
I don't
You
remember that.
You don't. You're the worship like expert on
I'm
this.
sorry.
Like, I thought you would have. Been
I've
like.
had a few million other things in my brain since then.
It's true. It's true. Fair point.
Though if I listen to it, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, I know this, because that's how my brain works.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But yeah, so we're going to be diving into Psalm 27. Are you wanting me to read? Because, like, I can take it and start.
No.
I can do reading and process.
I was wondering if you want to swap verses, go one at a time.
Did you want to swap chunks then?
Yeah, there's like 14 verses. So if we do 7 each?
Sure. So you want to do 1 through 7 and...
Yeah.
Cool.
So
I'm just going to move you guys in a little closer.
If anybody wants to follow along, we're doing the New Living Translation. Just because that's our personal preference. And that's another topic to get into another time.
That's another discussion.
All right. So Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. So why should I be afraid? The Lord is my fortress, protecting me from danger. So why should I tremble? When evil people come to devour me, when my enemies and foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though a mighty army surrounds me, my heart will not be afraid. Even if I'm attacked, I will remain confident. The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple. For he will conceal me there when trouble comes. He will hide me in his sanctuary. He will place me out of reach on a high rock. Then I will hold my head high above my enemies who surround me. At his sanctuary, I will offer sacrifices with shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music. Hear me as I pray, O Lord. Be merciful and answer me.
My heart has heard you say, "Come and talk with me." And my heart responds, "Lord, I'm coming." Do not turn your back on me. Do not reject your servant in anger. You have always been my helper. Don't leave me now. Don't abandon me, O God of my salvation. Even if my father and mother abandon me, and the Lord will hold me close. Teach me how to live, O Lord. Lead me along the right path, for my enemies are waiting for me. Do not let me fall into their hands, for they accuse me of things I've never done. With every breath, they threaten me with violence. Yet, I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. Bit of a roller coaster, typical Psalm mode. David's
Typical
just working
David,
through,
yeah.
right? David just is kind of working out some stuff. But, he always tends to have a fixated idea to launch off of, right? It can be down in the dumps, or it can be no, this is the hope to start us off with. And we can kind of regurgitate the things that suck, that are brutal, and are hard-hitting. Mm-hmm. But we need to keep the first thing first, as, the saying goes, right? The reminder of, hold on a second, there are some key things that we do need to remember. And really, that's why I think verse 1 is all about, right? The Lord is my light and my salvation. So why should I be afraid? The Lord is my fortress, protecting me from danger. So why should I tremble?
Yeah, and I like how it's not negating the fact that even though we have this knowledge that God is with us and there for us and providing for us and taking care of us, it's not negating the fact that we still often feel afraid or our minds go out of control and all those negative thoughts just go around and around and around.
That's right.
But David's no, I know these facts. I know that God is my light and my salvation. I know that he is my fortress, protecting me from danger because I've experienced it. Mm-hmm. So then, why, silly brain, why are you thinking this? Silly heart, why are you afraid?
Well, but he follows it up with there's a legit threat that's coming, right?
Yeah.
When evil people come to devour me, when my enemies and foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. So he's analyzing the true fact, right? David was not a guy that's making a mountain out of a molehill.
Right.
He's a guy that he had lethal threats, almost all the time until he finally was king, and even that was only a short period of time where he didn't have hard threats on him. But even even in the midst of his kingship, there was like that brief time, and then nope, his own son is wanting to kill him. His own son wants to usurp, and it's just like the dude didn't have a breather.
Yeah, and even if I'm attacked, this is verse 3, I will remain confident.
Though a mighty arm surrounds me, mighty army surrounds me, my heart will not be afraid. Like the sheer surrounding force, right? And we can get that in our anxious minds. And I think past Psalms where death has gripped him, like I appreciate how David's a visual communicator. In his poetry, you can feel the very thought that he's putting out there, like just surrounded. You just feel like you would legitimately go, yeah, there's no hope for this dude. Like, this guy is euchred in a not fun way at all.
What was that phrase that Rev said? A frog in an ocean?
Yeah, frog in an ocean, right? Like, you just are like, whoa, there's no hope. Like, how? How are you going to figure that out? But yet, yeah, as you said, even if I am attacked, I will remain confident.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you just say lightly to anybody on it. Like, you don't just go, oh, like, you know,
whatever.
It's a thing.
It's another Tuesday morning.
Oh, it's a giant army. Oh, cool.
No big deal.
Whatevs. We figure it out. Like, that's a Monday. Yeah, another Tuesday morning, as you said. Like, it's... But these are legitimate things that he's got to wrestle and work through. But yet his confidence is not in his own ability. And the more and more you read in the Psalms, it's never about his own strength that he even is able to do anything. Like, so many times he said, I'm faint. I feel like I can't go on another step. I feel drained. Psalm 22, like the big one that we always reflect on with Jesus, right? Like, it's almost like a pictorial perspective from Jesus' vantage point of like, this is what's going on. In that is very almost given up language. Like, I just have nothing, and yet God's that strength.
How often do we say that, right? We often say, like, I know I often catch myself, especially when things are overwhelming with life, with kids, with finances, or whatever it is, where I'm just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. But yet, in my heart, I know, no, I'm not actually done. I'm at the end of myself. But that is finally where I'm getting out of the way so that God can come in and do what he does best.
Right. And like, this is where we got to partner along with David in that mindset, right? Shifting that focus. And that's why I appreciate how, like, the first 3 verses are really kind of getting that perspective. The reminder of who God is, the authority that he has, the strength that he has, and we're relying on it. And here's the circumstance, but yet we still remain strong. Like, it's keeping to the core of, like, what should we be doing when we are facing difficult things. But then we have another shift. Like, it's just like, hold up a second. Like, let's chew on this side on it, right? Like, the one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple. You're almost like transported from the situation. You go from like, oh, schnickerdoodle, this is a bad situation, to like, when I'm confident, like, I will remain confident because of God and what he is my fortress. It's like, God, I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
Because when I'm with you, oh man, there's a different level to it.
But isn't that how that works, though? When we're surrounded by chaos and are able to refocus on Christ and spending that time with God and connecting with him, our perspective shifts and we can have that peace even in the midst of chaos. Peace that passes understanding. And it doesn't always happen because we're human.
Right. And it's not like in this situation where he's completely removed and then he's no longer facing that thing,
no,
right?
Absolutely not.
It's like the mental meeting space that you're having with God. And more recently I've been having that. And the whole thing that we shared on the stream is like, sit on dad's lap, like sitting on dad's lap and just being able to do that. And I know that's something that me and Hannah have been working through, to the point where I got to snuggle with Hannah back a couple of nights ago, and she just wanted dad snuggles. I was like, oh, she's like, that's so cute. And she said something that was just like, ooh, like tear-jerking moments of like, oh man, kid.
She tends to do
She
that.
does that. She does it really well. She goes, Dad, you know why I really like your cuddles? I'm like, oh, what's up? Why,
Yeah.
kiddo? And she's like, well, because when I get cuddles from you, I think that's like how God would cuddle with me. And then
Oh.
it's like I'm getting cuddles from great grandma who passed
my
away.
grandma passed away recently. Yeah.
And she was a believer. She was following Jesus, and so like in her head, she's already in that mode of just like being able to sit and just be like in the midst of anything. Like it just sometimes you need a physical reminder of the bigger reminder that God is there with everything.
Regain
And like
perspective, right?
she's 6. Like what does she have to worry about? Like unicorns, ponytails.
I don't know
and-
that most of babes.
Right, but in those moments, it's like, oh shoot, like that was deep, girl, and
Yeah.
it's like she's transported into that moment. And I'll say, like that's been a thing for me, has been just like just sitting and being with God, and have our changes, have our situations changed much? No.
And it's not turning a blind eye to the situation. It's not, excuse me, it's not ignoring the reality of what's going on. It's just being able to regain perspective and just step away from that situation and find that reprieve and realize, okay, yeah, this really, really sucks, but this is not all there is.
Yeah.
There's more. There's a bigger picture. There's something bigger going on.
Yeah. And so the very idea that like getting to delight in the Lord's perfections, like he's bigger than the situation, he's bigger than our circumstances, but then meditating also in his temple, like we get to be closer into that presence. I just, the more I'm reading Psalms, the more I'm realizing the big draw for David in wanting to build the temple so much, right? Because this is all imagery of space of God. And in his head, he's just like, I want that physical space so that we are actually able to engage God in that space and be there in that space and love on that space. It's just, I think that's a really cool thing, and we get to be invited in that, and I think we're encouraged to do that as well.
That next part, verse 5, for he will conceal me there when trouble comes. Like when troubles come. And that makes me think of when, like with our kids too, and when I was little, when you're really upset about something and you go and get comfort from somebody, your parents or another close friend or relative or whatever, how often do you just like bury your face into their chest?
Right.
And just like try to ignore everything else, and like you just have that peace. You can often hear their heart beating. And it's like, okay, you forget everything else is going on,
Right.
and you're able to get that comfort and that peace right there.
Right. Like, was it Jesus that used the analogy of like a mother hen
Yep.
drawing
Under their
these
wings,
kids?
just kind of.
Under the wings has been an idiom that's used consistently of protection, of shelter, of safety, and yeah, like same here. You'll conceal me when troubles come, right? And hide me in his sanctuary, again, where God dwells, his living space, where he is at. He will place me out of reach on a high rock. Like we are above the chaos, above the what feels like the raging seas or the craziness that's happening down below, into the dark valleys. We are now at a
Mountain
better
tops.
vantage. Yeah, in the mountaintops. We are where God is dwelling.
Where we can regain perspective.
Yeah, regain perspective, 100%. And then following up, verse 6, then I will hold my head high above my enemies who surround me. At his sanctuary I will offer sacrifices with shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music. Like, the confidence level, again, not fully resolved,
No.
but the mindset that, like, the song Praise the Lord, that, like, our kids absolutely are fanatics with and, like, get into the groove and stuff like that. the first verses really are talking about like praising through really sucky times, like when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm surrounded, but my praise is a shout that brings Jericho down.
That's Mark's favorite line.
That is Mark's favorite line, but it's in the process of it, like in the middle of the fight for Jericho, the praise that's going on, the relying on God and trusting in Him that He does the work. We don't do anything.
And with Jericho, it didn't happen the first time.
No.
They had to do it like daily for 6 of the days. On the 7th day, they had to go around the whole city seven times. And then they had to give a big show. And that's when. But can you imagine like day 3 or 4? And then like most people didn't know what was going on. They're like, oh yay, walking around another wall. Like,
right.
Woohoo.
We're just like, what's the deal with you guys?
Yes, this is gonna work, as they were being mocked and tormented by.
Right. And yet they're carrying the Ark of the Covenant, legitimately the presence of God around them. That's the charge, that's the thing ahead. They're relying and trusting that, God, you're going to show up, right? Like, this isn't just like a weird thing that
Please show up.
Right? Like, I Veggie Tales.
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Veggie Tales, to all you veggie fans out there.
Nerds.
Veggie nerds. Like, again, the slushy bombardments that are going on, and it's cute. It's
your
like
brain's very small.
Two thing walking will be knocking down our wall, right? Like it's silly because like walking around, what is that legitimately going to do? You walked
on the wall again,
right? But like, how many books now have been written because of that very idea? Like the very idea. There's. I'm trying to remember his name. The Circle book.
Ted Dekker?
No, not that one. This is a separate one. Like, it's like Circle book, and essentially the author, what he did, they were doing a church plant somewhere in the States, and what he did is he took the idea of Jericho and literally walked over the territory. And he walked in prayer circles. And it wasn't actually even referring to Jericho. It was like even Elijah had done a prayer circle that, again, was focused meditation, stuff like that. But like the deliberate task, like people would have probably been like, dude, like, why are you walking around here? This is kind of nuts. And he probably got some onlookers like, that's a little creepy. It's like, no, he's marking out territory. He's trusting, he's relying that God's going to show up. And cool thing was, throughout that time, God did show up.
Yeah.
He had enough faith to look foolish. And even my executive director, we've had it where if you don't know what to do in the high school, walk around the high school and just pray. And
I saw somebody I followed on Instagram. They lived where the hurricanes were coming, and before they came, their whole family walked around the property line praying, and they did that like multiple times. And then they left because, hurricane coming, right?
Hurricane, kind of a thing.
And the hurricane completely skipped over their place.
Dang.
And hit everybody else. And not, like, the trees that fell were not on their property line and fell away from the property. So everything was falling out this way rather than inward towards their house and the property.
That's crazy.
When all other trees were, because it, like, the direction of the winds, right? Like, they shouldn't have been falling that way, but they did.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That's absolutely nuts. Goodness. But, like, the idea that we can be praising even in the midst of it, right? And even before we see the victory, right?
Yeah.
But it's not an easy thing to just throw out there. But, like, over in time and time again in Psalms, we see David praising before anything happens.
Yeah.
He has this mindset of, like, well, if I'm trusting that God is faithful, God is reliable, and I'm coming to him, and if he says he's going to be making a way for me out of this, that he is my actual refuge and strength, I'm going to praise God for what he's done. Praise him for what he's already been doing.
Yeah, and we often do that too when we pray at night, or at night I often say, we thank you for what you've done, and we praise you for what you're going to do. Because that just keeps perspective. And even if this is all that he's done for us, and even if nothing else changes, circumstances don't change, we can still praise him because he's still going to be with us.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, what verse are
We
we
should
on?
keep on going. We're on verse 7.
Oh.
We're doing okay.
We're almost halfway, yeah.
We're doing
Pretty
timing-wise,
good.
you know, we're keeping consistent. We're good. Thumbs up to all y'all keeping on with us. That was
That should be
cheesy.
the screenshot.
Don't do it. Don't do it. YouTube, you make that the shot, and
Please
I don't know
do.
what this. See.
All right.
All right. Hear me as I pray, O Lord. Be merciful and answer me. Yeah. My heart has heard you say, "Come and talk with me." And my heart responds, "Lord, I am coming." Okay.
Tuesday.
Yeah. So you guys have been hearing more and more that on Tuesday nights I've been going to our church for what's called encounter nights, and really it's just praying, meeting time with God in prayer. And there's worship music that's not the main focus of it. It's just like your space with you and God, but then also you can be praying for other people who are in the space, and if they want specific prayer, you can hear that and you can be praying for them. And some really cool things have been going on that way, like some words of knowledge and stuff like that. That's just been like affirming or encouraging. I know I've gotten some direction from God on some of that stuff, but this past Tuesday, legitimately, I didn't know what to be praying for. I kind of came in and was just like, am I just here for show? Am I here just like to put on the appearance of like, oh, well, now I've committed to this, so now I'm good and stuff like that. I really kind of had to wrestle like with the first 15 minutes of it, of just like, I just want to be here. I want to be with God. So God, like, as David has said, look at my heart. What am I really here for? What am I doing? Because I want to be here with you. I've been having these moments with you, God, and I don't want it to stop. And then stuff like, God just reminded me, Mike, I got your family. And like that broke me down, like legitimately, like broke down. I needed to sit on the floor, sit on God's lap, and just like hear and just be reminded that like, Mike, I love your family. I care about them so much. I got you guys. Like, you don't have to worry because I've got you. And that's such a hard thing. But like, another thing that he said is, Mike, I saw you and I heard you. And like I had like my heart going nuts. It was Monday. Yeah, Monday morning. My heart was just going nuts. I was worried about a lot of different things. I was kind of like in a big panic. And God just saying, I saw you in the midst of that, but you are not alone on that, because I did see you. My heart is going out to you, and we're gonna be okay. Like, I've got you. And just that, like, wow, God, like, you didn't bail out on me on that one. Like, you were there. And like, it helped having my wife be able to like give me a hug or like hold me and stuff like that. Cheesy moment, but like legit, like I need that reminder that someone's right there also. And God has been guiding Coach in that way, that like just a simple touch or a simple like hug or a simple look or
even
an encouraging
our kids,
word,
right? Like they don't really know what's going on, but they're smart enough and more aware than we realize, I guess. But they often just come up, and just Hannah too, even Mark sometimes, even though the kid's huge, he's over 4.5 feet, and like he's been doing it lately with me in the mornings. He's like full on come up and like cuddled with me, and I'm like seriously, my arm's here, like the kid's huge. And I'm like, I can barely breathe because you're squishing me, but I also really appreciate it because I'm like, oh, this is like time with him where he's finding that peace in the midst of chaos.
But isn't that so like God, though, in the midst of when we cry out, when we are praying, and God, be merciful and please answer me, God will just be like, hey, like,
what's up?
why don't we just take this time?
Come take a break with me.
Yeah. And I think that's been my hard thing, is to be able to say yes to that. Because my head's like, but God, I need to. And I just like throw the list of all the things that's going on. And God, really, he's just like, no, you don't. Like, you just need to be with me right now. That stuff will be back, but like,
it's not going anywhere.
You need to sit and chill, man.
Yeah, I think we often forget that when we talk about tithes and giving sacrifices, it's not just financial. Because often it is, yes, but there's times when we can't afford it financially, or like, how are you supposed to give a certain percentage of nothing? Like, if you're not making any money. Right? Like, you can't. And so that was a big thing for me in college when I didn't have work. I'm like, how am I supposed to be tithing? Like, how am I supposed to be making those offerings and those, like, basically an example, a physical reminder, physical evidence of appreciation for what God's been doing. And that's when God really challenged me. No, it's your time as well. And so then I started getting up like early, way before class, and doing my devotions. And I found that even on days when I was up until 2 a.m. doing assignments, I could get up at 6:30, no problem. And like, it was hard at first, but eventually it became a habit, and I was able to spend that time with God before the rest of the day. And that set the standard, that set the filter, and everything else through my day was filtered and funneled through that. I like verse 9 and 10.
Yeah.
So, do not turn your back on me. Do not reject your servant in anger. You've always been my helper. Don't leave me now. Don't abandon me, O God of my salvation. Even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. And I think, for me, that speaks volumes about how even when we've seen God work and do things and show up time and time again, our very human hearts and brains are like, well, what if he doesn't do it this time? And often he doesn't show up in the same way. Because we've had crazy experiences and miracles where money has literally just dropped into our hands, and for a while I was like, okay, things are tight financially, this is what's going to happen because this is what God's done in the past. And then it doesn't, and I'm like, what like like, what, why are you not coming through? And then something else happens later, and I'm like, okay, so that's how you came through. And even like verse 10, like, I've definitely not been abandoned by my parents by any means. No. But there have definitely been circumstances as an adult that have changed the dynamic of a relationship. And it can be heartbreaking, but it's also because of my mistakes in the past that has affected that. But yet knowing that no matter what I do, no matter how much I screw up, my relationship, my connection with God is not changed. The only thing that changes it is my stubbornness to not spend that time with him. Or the only thing that can change it in a positive way is my willingness to spend more time with him, to make more sacrifices, to, maybe get less sleep and less time to myself or whatever. But the Lord will hold me close. Despite every circumstance, despite friendship breaking, despite problems with our kids or our parents or family or whatever it may be, whatever we're going through, God will hold us close. But the only way he can do that is if we come to him. If we're willing to take that step and get closer to him. But
I'm trying to... The word helper here, in verse 9, you have always been my helper.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check on what it is, but it very well could be the word Ezer. So Ezer, and I was just talking with Hoff the other day on that word and stuff like that. If it's that same word, Ezer is not just like, oh, like I helped you out, kind of stuff like that. In fact, that same word is used when we talk about Adam and Eve, how Eve is supposed to be the helper for Adam. And a lot of people have taken that hardcore out of the context of like, oh, she's just like a sidekick. She's just like
she's a glorified servant.
Right. And that's not actually the definition of Ezer. In fact, Ezer is a title that God often has that means you are essentially saving somebody. Like, it's better the case that your help actually is at the part of where the person's weakest at. You're complementing and upgrading the person. And so when God is like the helper, leveling you up kind of thing like that, right? But like in this case, like you have always been my savior or been my helper. It's like more like you've always saved me and like helped me in a way to improve me, to encourage me, and not belittle, but like you've met me there, and you've helped me not just in my circumstance, but you've helped me past that.
And not out of pity.
No.
Not, oh, well, here they go. I have to rescue them again. They're completely hopeless, helpless. I need to come in and fix this and make up for their mistakes.
Yeah, it's not a power struggle. It's just simply there and helping and investing and tenderly caring, right? But it's not just like help and then peace. It's like help and like progress kind of idea.
Come alongside and support them and be that consistent source of support, I guess, really is what I'm trying to say. Which
then it makes sense that, oh God of my salvation, you like legitimately, I could not get out of this without you. And we've hardcore Christianized the salvation idea out of it. It's like, oh, you say the prayers and like whatever. It's like, no, do you realize you need to be saved? Like, there's no way you can do some of these things on your own. And I've had to learn that because I'm a kind of like the hard wrangler. I'll figure it out. I need to do this. It's my thing. And there are just some things that I honestly cannot do. I need him. I need God. Yeah. I need you. I need the kids.
Reminder that just because your role is to provide doesn't mean you have to do it alone.
Yeah. I get the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I see. Can you guys feel that on the stream?
Just FYI.
Just saying. Hints dropped. Goodness. Make note if Wilson needs to take an idea here or something like that. Did Wilson miss something? Tune in next week. Verse 11. Here we are. Okay. Teach me how to live, O Lord. Lead me along the right path, for my enemies are waiting for me.
Wait, are they waiting along the right path?
Well, and that's the thing.
Just saying.
That's a fair thing to ask because the thought seems to lend toward it. But, like, they're off of it, right? They're not on the path. They are alongside of it. They're stalking.
Ready to be, like, ambushed. Kind of like getting... Yeah.
Right? And like
so
this...
if you stumble and step astray from the path a little bit...
Well, and this is where I think we're back to Psalm 23.
Okay.
Right? Like, for God's name's sake, he puts us on the right path. For his name's sake, we can trust and rely on him, that he is faithful, and that he will protect us, he is guiding us. But it doesn't mean that there aren't perils. Right? Because right after that is like, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Wait, hold on. The right path goes through the valley of the shadow of death? What is this? And it's like, but who's there with you through it? Right? It's the shepherd. It's God, and he's going to protect you and provide comfort for you. And so reminder of that is that, like, we still are looking for God to guide us. Yeah. But even to realize that, lead me along the right path, for my enemies are waiting for me. Like, that there's always going to be something lurking.
How often, though, do we, as Christians, like, assume that following Christ is going to be easy? I know I had friends in the past who say that they have chosen to be Christians and they think, oh, now everything's gonna be perfect. And it's like, no, that's not how it goes. If anything, it's going to be harder because doing the right thing and being godly in a world that's increasingly getting darker and more depraved is very difficult and impossible on our own. And the more light you have in you, like, the darker everything else looks.
Yeah, when all other lights go
right,
out.
Because like when things getting darker at night, and like now this time of year here, at least for us for sure,
in Canada.
In Canada, it's getting dark like before 5 o'clock, and so I've had it before where I've been in our living room and we haven't had the lights on or something like that, and like you realize all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, it's dark. When did it get so dark?
Yeah.
And then you put the light on and your eyes are adjusting and you're like, whoa, okay, that's a lot. Because when you're living in darkness, that's all you know. And yes, our eyes get adjusted to the darkness and we get accustomed to it and we can kind of shuffle along and survive. But when we first see the light, it's blinding and it's overwhelming and it's like, whoa, okay, no, maybe not so much. But then when we get used to that, everything else seems so much darker.
Well, in John chapter 3 talks about that, right?
Yeah.
Like when Jesus is talking with Nicodemus, he's talking about how the world has now, there's a great light that has shown up.
Yeah.
And it exposes the darkness. And so now you have a choice. You either remain in the darkness and go, well, that's too much. Or like you don't want people to see what's going on. Or you embrace the light. You are able to do better because of it.
Yeah.
And live better.
Because in the darkness, we also don't see our brokenness.
That's right.
We know it's there, but we don't want anybody else to see it. We
That's
don't want
right.
any light shone upon it. And so when it is, yeah, we've got the choice. We can either withdraw and be like, no, I don't want that. Or, okay, here's my brokenness. Shine light on it. Shine light through it.
Yeah. So then, do not let me fall into their hands. This is the enemy is waiting for me. For they accuse me of things I've never done. With every breath they threaten me with violence. But the follow-up. There's always a follow-up.
Of course there is.
Yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. So distinctly, the threat's still there. The threat is real. It is uncomfortable and having to work through that. But his confidence is in God. And he's even saying that he will experience it now in his lifetime, right? Because
Now and not yet.
yeah, now and not yet, but like the very idea that like I don't have to wait to experience that when I'm dead. No, I can experience this now. I can have faith and trust in this now. I can rely on God through it now.
And when you're being accused of false things with every breath, so it's not like just a one-time thing. It's like, no, it's like a constant, almost like second nature where it just doesn't shut off.
Right.
And that can really tear down your confidence. Like, we've both experienced it where people have consistently been insulting and harassing and bullying, whatever you want to call it, and it really does a number on your confidence. Even years later, I know it still affects us. I know there's things that our daughter says or our son says, and we're like, because that like opens up a wound again, and we're like, what the heck? This has been decades, but here we are. And so that confidence can only come from God.
That's right. And the confidence of trusting in God's goodness. That he's not just going to leave you in shambles. He's going to be...
Yeah. The really cool thing with our brains is that they will always be looking for evidence of whatever we're telling them. So if we're telling our brains, everything sucks, everything's negative, there's nothing good, then it's going to find proof for that. It's going to see the negative in everything. But if we are looking for the good, for those glimmers of hope, those glimpses of heaven, whatever you want to call them, then it's so much easier to see that, and our brains are trained. Literally, we can rewire our brains. It's fascinating. And so that's, I know I did that with my friends. Often when they were struggling with stuff, they would come to me and be like, oh, this sucks, I hate this, and la la la. I'm like, okay, right now, give me 5 good things. 5 things you're grateful for. Or like what is God doing right now? And I do that with the kids too. When they're complaining, I'm like, okay, what's one good thing out of this? And just, it's like, I know I need to work on and keep perspective on too.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And so then the last verse, which is great but also sucks all at the same time. I say great and also sucks because of this. Wait patiently for the Lord. Ugh.
I'm so
You
done
have to
waiting.
wait.
I'm so
Okay.
done waiting.
But be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. Interesting that this is a sandwich that he makes
It's
at
like,
the end,
hello,
right?
be brave and courageous.
Yeah. So the focus is be brave and courageous. Be brave.
Brave.
Be
Courageous.
brave and courageous. But how do we do that? We wait patiently.
And the wait patiently, I'm pretty sure in this context for sure, is an active waiting. It's not just sitting on our butts expecting God to show up and do something and not being willing to participate and sacrifice and be active in it. It's an active, like, okay, which we have experienced a lot where we don't know what specifically God's wanting us to do, but yet we're waiting patiently, where we are still connecting, still focusing on Him, still pursuing, still constantly asking and be like, okay, God, we're not done. Like it's kind of like a wrestling. Be like, no, okay, no, we know there's more. We know there's something. We know you're going to tell us. We know you're going to direct us. But we're not going to just sit back and not do anything. Because this is a partnership. This is active faith. Yeah.
Expectant that God's going to do
Waiting
something.
expectantly with hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That when we bring up a concern, He does hear it. That He wants to be there. He wants to help us. He wants to be there alongside us.
Yeah.
And not just leave us in that.
And it's kind of like an adventure, right? Where there's a bunch of side quests that happen, and you're like, oh, okay, is this where the direction you want? Isn't nope, and it loops back to the main thing, and like it just kind of goes around, and yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
So what's one takeaway?
I have to analyze now.
Okay.
You go first.
Sure. Really, it's no different than a lot of the other Psalms that we've kind of thrown down on, like, what are you doing in the midst of that chaos? How are you keeping your vantage point in the midst of it? And what is that hope that you are clinging to? The thing that I'm reminded of here is that really we do need to be patiently waiting. Makes me think of Narnia when they're talking about how Aslan will show up, but he never does the same thing twice. And that's very annoying because, like,
we're creatures of habit.
Right, we're creatures of habit, and we would hope that the person who's going to save us is going to do it the same way again and again. But also, where's then the building of faith in that? Where's then the idea that we have to trust in a new way? We have to lean in a new way. It's leveling up while also being frustrated in the leveling up opportunity, right? Like the trusting, relying on Him, and it's leveling up our relationship with Him, our dependency on Him. And so for me, in the expected, like, wait patiently, but be courageous, right? Like, it's courageous to wait, because I gotta sit in the midst of this, like, freaky situation.
It's a chaos going all around us.
That God is not just gonna leave me here. I'm gonna expectantly look for Him. And though I don't know how He's gonna do it, if He says He's gonna do something, He's gonna do it.
Yeah. And often we don't see the path too far ahead of us. Usually we want, like, steps 1 through 10. Or A through Z, or whatever it is, and we want it now.
Yeah.
But it's like, no. Like, but the funny thing is, with our kids, how different they are with that kind of thing. Our oldest wants to know every detail and in which order, and so he can have a plan and can do it and knows what to expect. Whereas with our daughter, if we give her a 2-step instruction, she gets overwhelmed. And she's like, that's too much for me. I can't do that.
She just wants enough for one thing at a time.
And so we've learned with her, okay, Hannah, we need you to do this. And we don't say, and then you can do this. It's like, no, Hannah, do this. And then she comes back to us and checks with us. She's like, okay, Mommy, I've done this. What do I do next? And I think that's often how we need to be with God. It's like I'm learning, because I want to know every step, and I want to have a plan. I want to have it figured out in every detail. But I also know my brain, knowing that like too much detail overwhelms me and gets me into panic mode. And sometimes that's what happens with Mark, is he gets overwhelmed and he doesn't recognize it because he's still wanting to know everything. And so I think the whole wait patiently is what's hitting me hard too. And that we can still be looking, we can still look for God's direction, still look for his blessing, still look for his guidance or whatever it may be in that patiently waiting. Because we never know when we're taking that rest. We never know who might be coming alongside that needs encouragement, that needs support in whatever they're going through. And if we're so focused on ourselves and our lack of direction, we might entirely miss out on an opportunity. And that's where the brave and courageous comes in too, because it does take faith and boldness and courage to step up and step out.
I want to mundane. You just threw something in the chat. I'm just going to read it for those of us who are not going to be able to see the chat or are listening. Currently, I'm going through that. My job is letting me go in a few weeks, and I know God will provide me a job and what he wants me to do, but it's scary to sit here and wait and not to worry like he tells me.
Oh yeah.
Dude, we get that. Like, so okay.
Oh man.
So first off, we're gonna be throwing that prayer at the end.
Yeah,
We'll be praying
absolutely.
for the situation that you got going on. So thank you for
thank
being
you for
honest
being
and sharing.
vulnerable in that.
Right. Like that's not, especially as a dad, as a husband, like you're crunching numbers in your head. You're trying to figure out how are things going to turn out, and if things don't line up quickly, man, that's a panic-inducing situation. So, but
we both have had experiences with that, like both as a couple, and going back to like my family history. My dad was a banker for years, and so good money, consistent work, a lot of hours. And it got to the point where he was so stressed from changes happening at work that he clearly heard God tell him to quit. And so there was months where we had nothing. And my sister and I had no clue. We just knew that Dad was home more often, and we did not feel the effects of it because they were relying on God. And at just the right time, God showed up and made things crystal clear in a direction they never expected. And so that gave me, knowing that experience, gave me a lot of faith for when we've gone through things. And which in turn encouraged my parents when they were going through things later in life. And I don't know, we don't have answers, but we really want to encourage you to hold strong. And in that, can take that opportunity and that chance to seek God out individually with your wife, like with your kids even, and keep that focus. Like just even writing it down, be like, okay, this is the situation, this is what we're going through now, because then later you can reflect on it. Because often when we're in the moments of rest or where things have worked out, we often lose sight of what's happened. And I don't know how it's going to work out.
Mundane, I want to encourage you in something here, man, because we've been talking a lot on like growing in our personal connection with God, and for me, I don't know if you're a walker. I'm not a walker by any means. I'm just telling you this right now. If I do get a chance to, I like it, but if there's a time at night when, you know, kiddos are in bed and your wife is able to have a bit of a breather time. This can be even a good time for her to have a breather in the midst of this. But take some time and do a walk and just let it out on God.
Yeah.
Like, let him out where you are stressing on this. Letting him out. Like, David did this so many times, right? This is why, like, I think Psalms has been really good for me. And I was originally dreading Psalms because it's like, oh my goodness, how much repetition am I going to deal with? But it's good that it's repetition in some ways because I need that reminder. I need that reminder that David had so many times where he was like freaking out with God and like, I don't see how this is going to work, but I got to trust in you because you You have been faithful. And that's easy things to say sometimes, right? Like we can easily go, oh, well, God's faithful and stuff. I'm telling you right now, Monday, that's not an easy thing for me to say right now.
Especially when you're in the middle of it.
Right, yeah, like right in the middle of it. And I'm not expecting you to easily say this, but I'm offering the challenge to you to remember God's character. He's compassionate, he's merciful, slow to anger, filled in unfailing love and faithfulness. And those are all throughout Scripture. You guys have heard me say this so many times on the stream to the point where I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. But if God is introducing himself with those attributes, and they're all throughout Scripture, we really need to be taking note on it. And we need to be really going, God, it says that you're compassionate. I really need to be seen right now. God, I feel like I'm broken and I can't do things. I need you to show mercy for me right now. God, you're full of unfailing love. I need you to show that and to take care of me and mine. And like legit, if you're calling on him, God's not going to bail on you.
And it might,
he's faithful.
Like, it's often not in our timing.
Oh, no, never.
Yeah, and like, there's so many stories. Like, my parents ran a Christian bookstore for years, and there were times when they couldn't pay rent. And I remember my mom being really worried and really stressed out about it and mad at God because she's like, what's going on here? And they had to humbly go to their landlords, who were also Christians, but they had to go to their landlords and explain the situation. And they were able to arrange things. And so there was a while where they didn't pay rent. And the humility that came out of that was really good too. Because we often expect God to show up in ways that we want in our timing. But yeah, we're living proof that God will show up. It won't, I can guarantee it won't look how you expect or how you hope, but that it will be better. And it might not feel better. Yeah. And it'll be painful. And there's hope. There's hope.
Yeah, perspective helps. And hold on to that you're not alone. Not in the sense of like, oh, well, like, we're all in this together kind of thing. We are. Family. Hi. This is what the church is about. Yeah. I'm not talking about some building or who gives a rip about a building. We're here as family. Yeah. So, Mundane, I'm going to tell you right now, me and Coach are going to be praying for you throughout this. I'll be checking in with you personally every little bit and seeing how things are going. Mundane, I'm also going to bring it up to our encounter group too. Because there are some awesome older crew that, man, Satan's scared of these guys because they know how to sit with God. Yeah. So I'm going to bring that up too in prayer. And then, of course, our prayer support channel, because we got some awesome peeps that are there. But you don't have to face this alone, but know that God is legitimately there. Yeah. And I know you've been making a comeback trail in your relationship with God.
And it's probably Satan trying to mess with you too.
Well, and not to hyper spiritualize, but yeah, I don't think that's too far off of an idea, because it can be a spiritual hit or an attack or stuff like that that's coming at it like this.
Trying to lose your footing.
Right. We're praying. Yeah. You're not alone.
Yeah. And as God was reminding Mike, he cares more. He loves your family more than you do.
Even you, man.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
He cares as much for you as he does for your family. And I know that you work hard and do all you can to provide for them. And they see that. And they might not necessarily verbalize it. But as a wife, we see it, we're aware of it, and we appreciate it more than we can say. And the kids see it too. And like, be willing to be vulnerable with them. Because that can really strengthen things. And then if you're a team working together, praying it through, then those kids will see that. They'll see God work. And that'll be a testament to him, testament to your faith in him. And that'll be a foundation for their faith growing as well. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's good. Good. We are going to wrap up in prayer right now. And so that's going to be part of that. We're going to pray also for Solomon. He was supposed to be released today from the hospital. He's been experiencing some pain, and there's been some other not so great news. So he really needs prayer. So yeah, let's just do that right now. Father God, I just thank you that we can come to you when we're surrounded, when we are in our good moments, when things are going right, when things absolutely suck, when things are beating us down and chaos just is overwhelming us. But God, you are our refuge and strength and ever-present help in times of trouble. You are a fortress that we run to. And God, I thank you that even in the midst of us, in the midst of this and the midst of us in our minds, you can take us to where you are at. That we can find rest in you in the midst of it. And that sounds so oxymoronic in its own right, but you're the God of all possibilities. You're the God who meets us where we are at. You're the one who invites us to come to you. And it's us that we gotta work on. Okay, God, I'm coming. Okay, God, my heart's coming to you. I'm running to you. God, help us to do that, to stand in that, to be willing to honestly take you at your word and be like, God, I need more of you. And God, may we be courageous enough in our waiting to actually go, God, can I see something from this? Can I see that you are here? Can you just give me something that I can just hold on to in confirmation that you are hearing me, that you are here with me. You're pulling me through this. So God, we just pray right now for Mundane. God, I know where that's like. I know how that is. I know how that hits. It hits the core of us as men to be able to take care of our families and to love on them. God, I need you to verbally speak to my brother over here. Affirm and encourage in him. Help him to know that he's not alone, that you do have his family, that there's going to be some way out of this. And God, I pray that you would show up and provide. That he can take that burden off for a moment. And you just show up in a way that's like, holy snap. God, just be with his family around him. And just as Coach has just said, like, help them to encourage and affirm him in what he's doing. To keep on. That his wife would just come along and love on him. That he would not feel diminished in who he is and what he's working at and trying to do. That he'd be embraced and loved and strengthened. That this would be part of their marriage, part of their history as a family, where they can say that they've never been closer. God, I thank you. You're the God who takes chaos and just goes, yeah, no, we work with this. In fact, it makes things even better because it keeps our eyes on you. God, I know that's where Solomon's at. He's got a lot of chaos hitting him, and he's been really working on trusting in you. And I thank you that you've given him a glimmer of hope in the midst of it with his dad. Some awesome progress there. But God, I pray for hope for him, encouragement for him, support for him. Bring healing to his body, bring rest to his body. And God, may he see and experience you in a way that's just mind-blowing.
God, thank you that though you call us to be brave and courageous and to wait patiently, you don't expect us to do it on our own. Though you call us to have faith and to believe, you help us in our unbelief. And all we have to do is ask. And it's humbling and it's challenging and it's so incredibly overwhelming. But yet, you always come through. You always take care of us. Give us the strength that we need and the hope that we need. Be that source for us, because we can't do it on our own. Bring people into our lives to encourage us all and support us all through whatever we're each going through. And help us to wait patiently on you, expectantly, knowing that you've got something in store for all of us. And that we will be able to look back in this day one day and be blown away at how far you have carried us.
Scott, again, thank you for this time. Thank you that you meet us even here. Help us to slow ourselves down in the midst of just hearing you and expectantly looking for you. Help us to not lose heart. Just be with us as we peace out from here. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, guys, that was another awesome stream with the lovely coach. Yeah, she's, she doesn't know what to do when I do that.
Don't want me here.
Yep, no, I get that. Yep, I always,
good.
Yep. So that was good. But yeah, keep on praying, guys. Keep on sitting with God. Expect Him to show up. Don't think that He's a God who's so far away from you that He does not care about you. We've seen this time and time again with Psalms. He is like ready to jump on some love on you.
Yeah,
and He's ready to do it.
Remember that it's okay to remind Him of what He's done. Yeah, of His character. I think we often are afraid of doing that, but there are plenty of examples of people of faith throughout Scripture that would be like, God, this is your character. This is who you are. This is what you've done. We need you to do it again. Because He likes that back and forth. He likes that interaction, that challenge, that like, okay, not disrespectfully, like make sure we have humility in it, but be like, okay, God, we need you. We're at the end of us. This is time for you to show up because we can't do it.
Yeah.
Complete surrender.
Absolutely.
Just scary, but a beautiful thing too.
So worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Anywho, guys, thanks again for tuning in. See you on Tuesday, 10 o'clock. Have a good one. You chew on the word. Take care.